Valentina Val Rossi, 36, stands barefoot on the frost-rimed observation deck of the Edge at Hudson Yards at 3:33 a.m., the city's arteries pulsing 30 stories below in electric crimson. Her emerald velvet gown shredded at the hem and soaked with arterial spray that steams in the January air, and she cradles a shattered Baccarat champagne flute, its jagged stem now a crystalline dagger, while the wind carves her black curls into Medusa coils. And Special Agent Sofia Delgado, 42, ex-CIA, eyes like a polygraph needle, slides a sealed evidence bag across the plexiglass interrogation table. Inside it, a single black Amex Centurion card bent into a perfect 90-degree angle and a torn corner of a Vatican-embossed envelope. And Delgado asks, voice colder than the Hudson, "Your lover's blood on your flute?" And Val answers, "Yes." Nothing more, no shiver, no sob, just that syllable detonating in the recycled air while the overhead drone feed glitches like a dying confession. And we flash back 96 hours, because that is exactly how long it takes for a billionaire art empire to hemorrhage into a quadruple homicide. And we see Val in the Rossi Gallery penthouse at twilight. Central Park bleeding molten copper across white oak, and a 1945 Dom Perignon still sweating in its bucket. She is on a quantum-encrypted call, voice silk over cyanide. Tell the Holy See the Caravaggio dies in the vault tonight if they trace the provenance to Cardinal Bellini. I will torch the ledger and salt the ashes. And she ends the call, pivots. And there is Matteo Bellini in the doorway, 39. Still priestly handsome even when drunk at 7 p.m., dangling a velvet reliquary that glows with stolen relics, teeth of saints, shards of the true cross, and he says, "Found this in your climate. Controlled crypt, darling, my uncle's blood money, your signature on the laundering docks. You sanctified genocide with my family name, and the penthouse contracts to the size of that reliquary." Val's breath fogging the crystal of her composure, and she whispers, "You weren't supposed to look," and Matteo flashes the smile that once seduced her in a Vatican confessional 9 years ago. But now it is a stigmata, and he says, "I'm fleeing to Argentina at dawn with the relics and the proof, unless you wire me half the gallery, the jet, the lies." And he drapes a rosary of black pearls, her rosary, a gift from a dying pope, around his own throat like a garrote. He is nodding for her, and the camera glides back through the window to the skyline. 30 stories above the High Line, where police choppers circle like angels of judgment, and we cut to the Edge's cantilevered glass floor that midnight. Tourists long gone, Matteo cornering Val above the void, city lights strobing below like a disco of damnation. And he thrusts a burner tablet at her. "Sign the NFT wallet now," and her hand trembles as she draws the Baccarat flute from the ice bucket, its stem snapping into a shard that catches the moonlight like a shard of heaven, and she says, voice splintering, "You taught me one thing, Matteo. Never negotiate with a relic smuggler," and they collide. A tangle of velvet and frost, the rosary snapping, pearls scattering like hail across the glass, Matteo's fingers clawing at her throat. A scream swallowed by the wind, and then the nauseating tilt as his center of gravity betrays him. 30 stories of night between him and the plaza ice rink, and the flute plunges into his jugular mid-fall, a crimson fountain painting the sky. And he strikes the ice with a crack that splits the rink like a sacrilege, and Val stands rooted, flute still dripping, blood on the shard that is now hers, and the camera descends to Matteo's eyes, open, reflecting the chopper spotlights, already filming over. And we hear her voiceover, whispered, Frantic, I never meant to kill him. I just wanted the saints to stop talking. And cut to the "Oh, see me at dawn." Stainless steel and incense. The pathologist lifting Mateo's slack wrist. Defensive. Laceration. Shaped like rosary beads. And then the centurion card. Bagged, tagged, bent monogram glaring, and Delgado mutters, "Valentina Rossi." The Black Widow curator, and the tech nods. DNA match on the arterial spray and epithelial cells under his nails. And we're back on the edge. Delgado's sliding crime scene stills across the glass. Mateo's body cruciform on the cracked ice. The flute embedded in his neck like a modern stigmata. Pearls frozen in blood, and Delgado says, "You crucified him in midair." And Val's facade fractures for a heartbeat, eyes brimming, and we flash again to the glass floor, slower, frame by frame. Val's hand on Mateo's cassock, not stabbing but hauling, trying to drag him back from the brink, his loafer skidding on black ice. The rosary catching on the railing, snapping, his grip failing, and he drops anyway, and Val shrieks, a sound sharp enough to shatter the cantilever, and she collapses to her knees, frost melting into tears, and the flute skitters away, and she crawls to the edge, peers down, sees the body, sees the centurion card glinting in the blood like a fallen halo, and she understands the city has already begun erasing him from its canon, and we return to the present, Val on the observation deck. Voice barely audible, I tried to pull him back, I swear, and Delgado leans in. Then why erase the Edge's AI security grid? Why plant the suicide drone footage with Gregorian chant? He wasn't alone up there. Someone filmed it from the confessional drone. Meet me at the gallery. Midnight. Or the world sees the truth, and Val's smile evaporates, the drive quivering in her pearl-gloved grasp, and we track her that night to the abandoned church of St. Cecilia in Red Hook, moonlight bleeding through stained glass. She lays the blood-stained Baccarat shard on the altar, the marble cold beneath her palm, and the wind snatches the shard, rolls it into the shadows where it snags on a rosary, evidence forever lost, and Val says to the crucifix, voice level again, "You wanted half of everything, you got silence," and she walks into the fog, Louboutins ticking like a metronome reset, and behind her the shard glints once, then stills, a ghost hooked to the beads. But the crucifix's eyes glow red, hidden camera, and the feed hijacks every screen in the gallery. Timestamped 12:11 a.m. Drone POV from the Edge's confessional pod. Mateo arguing with a second figure, hooded, female. Voice scrambled through a vocoder, handing him the reliquary. And just as Mateo turns to Val, the hooded woman hisses, "This is for the children of Aleppo," before shoving him from behind. The flute already in Val's hand catching the moonlight as she lunges to save him, and the drone captures the exact moment the hooded woman whispers, "Your uncle sold indulgences for cluster bombs," before vanishing into the wind, and we smash cut to the gallery at midnight, Val stepping out of the freight elevator, heels silent on concrete. The novice waiting in shadow, except it is not the novice, it is Sister Chiara Moretti, 31, ex-Mossad turned nun, eyes like burning frankincense, holding the original confessional drone, and she says, "Your lover funded the militias that orphaned me. You laundered the relics. I pushed him. But you let the saints bleed," and Val's hand slips into her clutch, fingers closing around a new weapon, a reliquary dagger with a shard of the true cross, and she smiles, small, lethal. You wanted absolution. I want the footage. Let's confess. And the camera circles as they face off, city lights strobing through the skylight like a strobe of judgment, and Chiara plays the full video on the 20-foot LED wall. Matteo begging in Latin, Val pulling, Chiara shoving, the flute piercing, pearls scattering. And then a third figure, unseen before, steps into frame, catches the falling centurion card and pockets it, face obscured by a porcelain Pierrot mask, and Chiara freezes the frame, zooms, reveals a tattoo on the wrist, a tiny Goldman Sachs logo, and Val whispers, "That's not possible." Matteo's silent partner, Elias Goldman, died in a plane crash last year, and the skylight shatters, glass raining like hail, and Elias Goldman descends on a rappel line, alive, smiling, holding the missing Centurion card, and he says, "Insurance policy, darling." Matteo was going to turn us both into The Hague. I faked my death. Chiara was my drone nun. And you, he nods at the reliquary dagger, are about to sign over the entire Caravaggio, or the world sees you as the killer, and Val laughs, a sound like stained glass exploding, and presses a hidden panel. Matteo's final confession recorded in the Vatican vault, and she says, "I've been streaming to Interpol since you crashed the skylight." Checkmate, and Elias lunges, Chiara screams, the reliquary dagger flashes, blood arcs across a priceless Basquiat, and the camera spins as Val backs toward the freight elevator, wind howling through the broken skylight, city roaring, and she shouts over the chaos. "You all wanted half of everything, you get damnation." And she steps backward into the elevator, the drone rising to follow her ascent. Not a fall, but a controlled climb, relics glittering like stars as she vanishes into the rooftop. Helipad, and the final shot is the Centurion card spinning on the gallery floor, landing beside the reliquary dagger, both dripping, and a single text overlays the screen in blood red. Her Hidden Crimes Season 2 premiere, The Fourth Saint. Who really fell from grace? Subscribe. The city forgives, but the saints remember.